But he found evidence of deliberate burial in a very complicated, difficult cave system, which you can hardly access. The archaeological establishment descended on him like a ton of bricks and tried to find all kinds of reasons why it couldn't possibly be.
Did you know about the mysterious Osiris Shaft hidden away on the Giza Plateau? This intriguing archaeological site, tucked away from the more famous Great Pyramids and the Sphinx, has a story that's slowly been coming to light over the years. While the big monuments grabbed all the early attention, the Osiris Shaft waited quietly for its turn in the spotlight.
Would it be fair to say that there's an element of a rediscovery of a lost technology from the past?
I think it would be fair to say that, yes.
It wasn't just another hole in the ground. This shaft held secrets of ancient Egyptian civilization and their religious practices that were only beginning to be uncovered. It's fascinating to think that this place was just sitting there, known since the late 19th century but not getting much love from explorers. They were all dazzled by the pyramids and Sphinx.
I don't know how they did it. All I know is they did it. I don't think anybody knows how they did it, how they lifted those stones, how they brought them up to that level. I think we're looking, again, at a lost technology.
But as it turns out, the Osiris Shaft had its own tale to tell, one that required a bit of patience to fully appreciate. Enter the 1990s and things started to change. That's when Zahi Hawass, a name many of you might recognize, took the reins and decided it was time to give the Osiris Shaft the attention it deserved. Under his guidance, a thorough exploration began, peeling back the layers of its complex architecture. What they found was a marvel, a glimpse into the depth of Egyptian religious thought and engineering prowess. But getting to the heart of the Osiris Shaft wasn't a walk in the park. The team faced the massive challenge of pumping out water that had filled its lower levels, especially the third level that was partially underwater.
But what happened a few years ago, that the water began to rise in front of the Sphinx temple outside. Then I was really afraid that this water can damage the Sphinx.
Imagine the effort it took to bring in modern pumping equipment and clear out all that water just to access the deepest secrets of the shaft. Its 3 levels diving deep into the earth turned out to be a fascinating puzzle of architecture, burial customs, and hidden treasures. The first thing that caught their eyes was the shaft's design itself. It's a marvel of ancient engineering, with each level serving its own mysterious purpose. Down at the very bottom, a large stone sarcophagus sits in a chamber that's partly underwater, painting a vivid picture of the ancient Egyptian underworld right there beneath our feet. It's as if they built their own version of the afterlife hidden deep in the Giza Plateau. But then there's the second level with its 6 empty burial shafts. Imagine the archaeologists' surprise finding them all vacant. It sparked so many questions. Were they plundered, or were they never meant to hold anything in the first place? This level offers a glimpse into the burial practices and rituals of the time, even if it leaves us guessing about some of the details. Despite the lack of inscriptions, a kind of ancient billboard that could have told us exactly who made this and when, the bits and pieces found throughout the shaft speak volumes. Pottery shards, fragments of stone vessels, and other small artifacts serve as breadcrumbs leading us back in time, suggesting that the Osiris Shaft might hail from the New Kingdom period. It's like detective work, where every clue helps build a case for when this incredible structure came into being. But perhaps the most touching finds were the mummified remains tucked away in the smaller chambers around that central sarcophagus. It's one thing to study the grand monuments and temples, but it's another to come face to face with the people themselves. Analyzing these remains gives us a rare peek into the lives of those who once walked the streets of ancient Egypt, what they ate, how they lived, and maybe even how they died. Let's talk about Osiris for a moment. He's not your average deity, he's the ancient Egyptian god of the afterlife, death, and rebirth. The story goes that Osiris was betrayed by his brother Set, leading to a saga of death, dismemberment, and a resurrection that sounds like it came straight out of a blockbuster movie. His wife Isis put him back together and brought him back to life. Osiris's story is a cornerstone of Egyptian mythology, embodying the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. And guess what? The Osiris Shaft is like a 3-dimensional tribute to this epic tale. Down in the depths of the shaft, there's this chamber filled with water that's believed to represent the underworld. Imagine standing there in front of a large stone sarcophagus that's meant to symbolize Osiris's tomb. It's not just a tomb, It's a symbol of his journey through death and his role as the ruler of the afterlife. But why build such a place? Well, one theory is that the Osiris Shaft was a venue for initiation rites. Think of it as a spiritual boot camp where participants would undergo trials, symbolizing death and rebirth, much like Osiris did. These rites weren't just for show. They were believed to impart secret knowledge and bring about a spiritual transformation in the initiates. Some even speculate that the shaft's design was guided by the stars, aligning with celestial bodies that the ancient Egyptians associated with Osiris and the afterlife. It's as if the shaft was a bridge between Earth and the heavens, a physical representation of the soul's journey after death. What's truly fascinating is how the physical structure of the Osiris Shaft and the artifacts found within echo the ancient texts like the Pyramid texts and the Book of the Dead. These texts offer a glimpse into the Egyptian view of the afterlife, complete with references to water, boats, and, yes, the significance of sarcophagi. It's like the shaft is a stone-bound version of these ancient scrolls, a tangible connection to the beliefs and rituals of a civilization long gone. Buried deep within the limestone bedrock, the Osiris Shaft, it's a three-level maze that masterfully blends practicality with a touch of the mystical. Let's dive into what makes the architecture and structure of the Osiris Shaft so fascinating. First off, the way this shaft was designed and built is nothing short of amazing. It shows just how advanced the ancient Egyptians were in their planning and building techniques. The precision with which they carved out these chambers from the bedrock really makes you wonder about their deep understanding of the earth beneath them. At the entrance, you're greeted by a rectangular opening that starts your descent into the depths. This isn't just a hole in the ground, it's a carefully carved vertical shaft dropping down about 10 meters. Imagine the effort it took to remove all that limestone, using tools made from harder stones and metals, and even ropes and wooden scaffolding. It's a testament to their engineering skills. The first chamber you hit is pretty modest. No flashy decorations or treasures, but its simplicity might have been the point. It's like a waiting room or a space for getting ready for something more profound down below, maybe even for some kind of purification rites. But the real intrigue starts when you go deeper to the second level. Here, there's another shaft leading down another 20 meters, and this chamber is a bit more complex. These shafts could have been meant for actual burials, or perhaps as a representation of the journey to the afterlife. The third level is where things get even more dramatic. You go down another shaft, and this time you're 30 meters below the surface. Here lies a large stone sarcophagus, right in the center of the chamber. This isn't just a burial place, it's a symbolic representation of Osiris's tomb. The fact that this chamber is partially filled with water from the natural aquifer adds to the mystique, tying it to themes of rebirth and purification in Egyptian mythology. Graham Hancock is a name that often sparks lively discussions whenever ancient civilizations are mentioned.
There are huge corporations that have very large investments in a particular path of technology. Sure. For somebody to come up with a whole new path of technology, it's very threatening to them.
Known for his captivating books like Fingerprints of the Gods and Magicians of the Gods, Hancock is no stranger to controversy, especially with his theories that challenge the mainstream archaeological narrative. Today, let's dive into how Hancock's unconventional ideas might shed new light on the mysterious Osiris Shaft.
They fell there, something like that.
All of them?
Yeah, all
Over
of them.
many
and
years?
somehow buried themselves under the topsoil.
At the core of Hancock's theories is the tantalizing notion of a lost advanced civilization. This isn't just any civilization, but one that supposedly predates all known history, equipped with knowledge in astronomy, architecture, and mathematics that far exceeds what we'd expect from our ancient ancestors. Hancock might say the Osiris Shaft, with its intricate design and possible astronomical alignments, serves as a kind of time capsule from this sophisticated society. Could it be that this ancient marvel is much older than we think, or that it was built with wisdom handed down from this enigmatic civilization? Hancock's fascination doesn't stop at architecture. He's also keenly interested in how these ancient structures align with the stars. While he hasn't specifically pinpointed the Osiris Shaft in his star maps, it's easy to imagine it fitting neatly into his grand scheme of things. Could the shaft's orientation hint at a connection to celestial events or constellations tied to Osiris and the themes of death and rebirth? Hancock's work suggests that many of Egypt's ancient monuments are part of a larger cosmic blueprint, and the Osiris Shaft might just be another piece of that puzzle. One of the more dramatic elements of Hancock's theories involves global cataclysms, particularly those caused by comet impacts around 12,800 to 11,600 years ago, during what's known as the Younger Dryas. He proposes that these catastrophic events could have wiped out the advanced civilization he theorizes about. So, when we look at the water filling the lower levels of the Osiris Shaft, Hancock might see it as more than just groundwater seepage. He could interpret it as a deliberate nod to the ancient deluges, a symbol of the world-altering floods that his hypothesized civilization endured. Do you think there have been multiple ancient cataclysms?